Welcome to the Hojo on Architecture podcast. Climate Responsive Architecture. Chapter 3, Climate Impact of Architecture. A range of additional data also reveals the extent of architecture's contribution to the climate crisis. Buildings accounted for the largest share of both global energy consumption by 36% and greenhouse gas emissions related to energy use by 37% in 2020. The most significant proportion of this energy consumption is attributed to the heating, cooling, and conditioning of interior spaces. But think about that for a moment. Most of the energy is spent to make our indoor environments more comfortable. It is also evident that, except for the year 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic led to widespread lockdowns, greenhouse gas emissions have consistently increased year on year. So here's the question. Why do we keep repeating the same patterns when we already know the outcome? Beyond their operational use, it is essential to remember that buildings consume energy and produce emissions even during their construction. For example, the embodied carbon generated through the extraction, transportation, and assembly of building materials is responsible for 1/4 of a building's lifetime emissions. It represents 11% of global carbon emissions. In other words, before a building is even occupied, a significant portion of its climate-related costs has already been incurred. Without significant intervention, carbon emissions from buildings are expected to double by 2050. Although the Paris Agreement stipulates that all buildings must achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050, fewer than 1% have yet reached this standard. This gap between ambition and reality should make us pause. What exactly is holding us back? Furthermore, the contemporary construction materials upon which the modern world has become reliant since the Industrial Revolution, namely concrete, steel, and aluminium, are responsible for 23% of global emissions. These very materials built our modern world, but now they are also undermining its future. In light of projections that the global building floor area will double by 2060, it is evident that construction activity will continue to expand at an accelerated pace. Although building energy codes have been implemented in approximately 80 countries worldwide, 43 of which are mandatory, and around 100 voluntary green building certification systems are in operation, led by BREEAM in the United Kingdom and LEED in the United States, the data cited above indicates that a truly global culture of sustainability remains far from realized. So, are these measures enough? Or are we simply buying time while the problem grows larger? Today, the availability of software and databases capable of calculating solar position and wind direction or velocity at daily and even hourly intervals for every point on the planet makes it entirely feasible to design passive strategies for climate control and lighting. We have the tools, the knowledge, and the data, yet we still cling to mechanical systems. Nevertheless, the architectural discipline continues to exhibit a heavy dependence on mechanical heating, cooling, and lighting systems, a reliance that is difficult to justify. It is now undeniable that our modern methods of architectural production, predicated upon a narrow range of forms, industrial materials, and mechanical systems, are failing, producing a homogenized global building culture that is ill-suited to local climates and cultural identities. This is no longer just an environmental issue. It is a design choice that we must urgently reconsider. What is urgently required is a reversal of this approach, a renewed architectural ethos that seeks to learn from the characteristics of vernacular structures. The work of pioneering architects who have applied lessons from vernacular building traditions to formal architectural practice should be considered exemplary and provide a model for future design. And this takes us directly to our following discussion. In the next episode, we will delve further into this question by examining the sustainable aspects of vernacular architecture and how traditional wisdom can inform our path towards a more climate-responsive future. This concludes Chapter 3, Climate Impact of Architecture, in the Climate Responsive Architecture series. Thanks for listening. See you in the next episode.